Good morning, everybody. So really glad everybody came here to see everybody bright and shiny on a Tuesday morning for once. I think this might be the first time we've started on a Tuesday before. It feels a little strange. Hope everybody had a safe trip in. At least one person got their flight canceled, who also happened to be the opening speaker. So Patrick McDaniel sends his regards, but he's stuck somewhere between here in Madison and more importantly, not here. So welcome to the HTC26. It's our annual gathering of all things throughput computing. We have lots of great things on deck. We have a couple of new things that we're trying. We have maybe a couple new communities and particularly some new faces that you might not have seen before. So make sure you're friendly and reach out to folks. But to kick everything off, we're going to have Miron talk about, if I remember right, TT&T. So he'll explain what that means.
Okay, good morning. So before I get into the triple T, I would like to sort of introduce the meeting that we have here today. So once again, we managed to bring over 100 individuals to join us here physically at the Fluno Center. So that's wonderful and welcome to all of you who are here. And we have over 200, it's a little bit less than 200 registered from around the world. And the total is 270, and 70 of them are from international sites. So Canon, who became now the master of maps. If you need any kind of data thrown on a map, Canon will be happy to do it for you. And this is sort of where we believe. It's actually interesting when you do these maps, if somebody does an error in the data entry, suddenly you have a US institution in the Himalayas. Because if they put in a minus or forget to put in a minus somewhere, suddenly the maps are getting interesting. So since I'm talking about the international activity, just as an opportunity for those of you who are attending from abroad to remind you that we have also the European event, this time in Lyon, by the end of September. So if you can join us there, that would be wonderful. At the same time, if there's anyone who is in Japan or India and it's the middle of the night, we definitely appreciate you being with us. So we are definitely international, and I still remember that I wanted to have 150 stars or sites on our HD Condor map, and we have now over 200 that allowed us to show their Condor existence. So that definitely makes us feel good. And when we look at where we reach via the OSG services, which is sort of a different dimension to look at who is out there in the throughput world, These are the over 300 sites, 345 sites worldwide that one way or the other, our services software is reaching. So it's quite an international footprint. So before I go to the triple T's, I would like to express our appreciation and gratitude to the community, because without the community, all this would have been meaningless. And we appreciate that you allow us to bring together the community and that you are coming here. And we cannot have an event without this picture. So here we are. Okay, so now that we are done with this, let's talk about the triple T's. And when I said that I'm going to talk about triple T's, Todd immediately jumped and said, okay, I am two T's. And then we start looking for the third T, and then Tony Gitter volunteered to provide the third T. So that's one way to talk about the triple T. But I would like to talk about transition, about trust, and about throughput, obviously. So let's talk about transition first. And it is transition and expansion or addition, because it's not clear when you move from one thing to the other. Do you leave anything in the back or you abandon it? So I will let you decide. So the first transition, actually, before I talk about the first transition, is just to show that we have a long history. So when we think transition, we have another T, which we have a long tradition. And it is 40 years that we have been doing HT Condor. And it's 21 years now since we opened OSG. We are in year 6 of the PASS project, and we are in year 3 of the Pelican project. So the years are rolling. And the first transition that I would like to talk about is the transition in the executive director of the OSG Consortium. So I am personally extremely pleased, Frank, that you are here. And you can tell that he didn't change since the ribbon cutting in 2005. And by the way, behind Frank is Kevin from NSF that also welcome. We missed you last year here, and we are pleased to have you join us. So let me start by saying, Frank, thank you for everything you did for OSG, including cutting the ribbon in 2005. I know it was an emotional event for you. And it's running the executive team and all the moving parts and all the concerns about how do we keep the whole thing going, and etc. Required leadership. And thank you We definitely will miss you on a daily basis and hope to keep you part of the community as much as we can. We know that running the supercomputing center in San Diego is a tall order, but we'll try to use you as much as we can. And okay. And although the first time I met Frank, it was in the days of Run 2. But for me, Frank was always representing the LHC world. And we just finished a couple of months ago the transition and passing of the baton from Frank to Peter Kavaras, who is coming in from what you will hear more about today is the multi-messenger community as part of the LIGO collaboration. So rather than me telling you about Peter, who, I don't know, unfortunately for us, I'm not sure that it's unfortunate for him because he's sitting in Munich and I hope having some decent beer there. He will join us remotely to give us a few thoughts on this transition. So can you make it happen? Cool.
Hi, everybody.
Wow.
Can you hear me okay? Maybe not.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Excellent. Okay. Well, many of you know me. For those of you who don't, I spent a decade on the Condor team starting in the late 90s. Joined LIGO 16 years ago, and as of April, just took on this role of the new executive director of the OSG Consortium, in addition to retaining most of my LIGO responsibilities. I also want to thank Frank for doing this job over the past 11 years. I'm not going to let him off the hook. He'll still be involved. And I'm really sorry I can't be in Madison with you. As many of you know, I had a 20+ year unbroken streak of attending this meeting in person. But I had committed to being here in Munich this week before I took on the role, or I would have been in the room. But I'll be quick now because I know Zoom is the mind killer in an in-person meeting like this. I really, mostly I want to say that being brand new on this job, there's no community I'd rather be a part of. I've been, an HTC user and collaborator and agitator for most of my career. And I hope to make my mark as the executive director in some productive way, but I'm deliberately going slowly. OSG is very big and more varied than my mostly LIGO-centric view of it. So my goal for now is to really understand the wider lay of the land before I push. But I want to sort of use a couple minutes here to just sort of give a couple observations from something outside this meeting, because I think it really connects to what this session is about. About a month ago, Fermilab hosted a workshop on scientific workflow management with workflow people from across major physics and astronomy experiments all in one room for a few days. And I attended remotely. And there were three things that kind of hit me from it. First, HT Condor has quietly, or maybe not so quietly, become real community infrastructure in physics. Everyone in the room, from different portals, different pilot systems, different acronyms all stacked together, all were running Condor at the bottom. And that didn't happen by accident. It's really the product of decades of the culture of the people in this room today, and our sustained investment in shared software. And it's what lets a new experiment stand up production workflows without having to sort of relearn and resolve 30 years of distributed computing problems. And I think that's worth saying out loud in a room like this one. Second, I noticed in that meeting that there's as much variation or more in different projects' computing approaches and models as there ever was. From some that have kind of these full service integrated computing frameworks, these beautiful portals where you people plug their work into, which is true of some of the LHC and some of the bio projects, to the other extreme, which I think LIGO is in, where you have kind of these Wild West computing environments where every team of data analysts builds their own unique workflow on top of some kind of shared foundation of tooling. And LIGO is not even the most complicated example of that. I have a sense Ruben and NRAO are catching up fast, and hope to hear more about that today and tomorrow in this week. But I think that variation in the approaches is something that's really becoming more diverse, not less, as time goes on. And third, and this is kind of shifting gears a little, distributed operations and debugging is just a huge problem, right? When a job dies, 3 facilities away, how does a user find out what actually happened? How does the admin figure out whether it's an infrastructure problem or the user's problem? And every experiment in that room, LIGO foremost among them, named it as kind of a top source of pain. But the great news is, I think HT Condor and OSG have made significant progress here in the past couple of years that maybe some people in the room haven't even digested yet. There's big improvements in differentiating errors based on whether it's kind of the infrastructure's fault or the users, and communicating that and responding appropriately. And so if you or your users haven't kind of taken a fresh look at this in the past few months or the past year, it's worth looking at that, and there may be improvements to benefit from, and lots of the path people in the room can talk about that. In any event, that brings me to why we're here. I think the bulk of multi-messenger astrophysics and astronomy and the computing that it requires, whether it's estimating the parameters of things that we see in space, or doing population studies, or simulation campaigns, or cross-survey matching, is all the kind of complex, mostly parallel workflows that the community in this room has spent decades getting good at, or at least getting less bad at. I often make the joke that distributed computing is a great field to be in because the state of the art is so terrible that you don't need to be Einstein to make a contribution. You just need to make it a little less bad. And this room has spent a lot of time making it less bad. And so, we want to make sure that we help new projects not hit the walls that we've climbed, a decade ago. So I'll close with sort of my one request, which is there's a focus on MMA today and into tomorrow, multi-messenger astronomy and astrophysics. And I'd like people in the room, whether you're on the computing side or the science side, take this opportunity while you're here in one place to seek each other out, make connections with people you don't know yet, many of whom are new to this meeting, and try to feed back to us in Path, and me in particular, what turned out to be useful, what's worth following up on, and I'm going to do my best to pick up these threads and try and move them forward. I really hope OSG is at the center of this wheel, only where we can be helpful, but we don't need to be at the center of it. I'd consider it a big success, as there was sort of a lot of peer-to-peer and point-to-point connections coming out of this meeting that OSG doesn't even have to be at the center of, unless it's useful. So tell me what's important, what was a waste of time, what you'd like to see next from OSG. And I'm looking forward to hearing all the talks today and tomorrow. So with that, I'll hand it off to the chair. I'm not even sure who that is. Brian? Cole?
Cool.
Cole. Thank you, Cole.
Cole is, okay. Thank you, Peter, and have a beer for us. So the next transition it's okay. I did the wrong direction. Okay. The next transition is from the past project to the FabAID project. We were notified a month ago, less than a month ago. Yeah, okay. That as part of the integrated data services and systems program of NSF, that the proposal where Brian is the PI was funded, and that is where a significant amount of the effort that will go into the next phase of what we are doing will come from. It's not, at least in the short run, that path is going anywhere. One mental view that you may have is that the OS pool is sort of staying more within the sphere of paths, and OSDF that is sort of was created by paths over the past 5 years is going to transition to be the focus of FabAID, which is more driven by the data challenges. And facilitation, the poor facilitation team will be stuck in the middle and has to please everyone, so good luck. But that is one transition. I assume you will hear more about FabAID as the week goes on, but that's we don't have a logo yet. So the other part, which is more local to us, but also will have implication on CHTC, where most of the effort is being housed or managed, is that we are going to move CHTC from the school of computing and data, no, information and data, and to a new college. It's the first college that was established in on this campus, I think, since the Russian Revolution or something like this. Getting a college at the state university requires, I think, a legislator decision and whatever. So we are going to have now a college for computing and AI, and we are going to be part of it. It seems, and as the British are always saying, that the proof of the pudding is in the eating, that the translational model that has been promoted by CHTC over all these years is going to be a major component of the college. But as you can imagine, starting a college, there is a lot of machinery that has to come into place before we can talk about vision. So that is another transition. And now the expansion. So if you look at the OS pool, we have about 100 institutions that are benefiting from it, but only 20% are non-R1 institutions. So we want to see much more impact on the small institution. And following me, we'll have a representative here, Jason Simmers, from a small institution. Small doesn't mean not important, negligible. I don't like the term long tail. That is, but about how can we do more and better in terms of small institutions. And an important element of getting into, where are you going? An important element of being engaged with small institutions is to have a strong presence in supporting the teaching mission, workforce development, which became a buzzword around us. So following me, you will hear from Jason. Jason is also a co-PI on FabAID. So you see how all these things are coming together in a structured way. Peter already talked about the multi-messenger expansion. So we have here, and we greatly appreciate it, individuals that are representing 4 of the multi-messenger collaboration. LIGO is the oldest. IceCube, which is our local messenger, is the one that followed LIGO. NRAO is a more recent addition to the collection. And the new kid on the block is the Rubin Observatory. So when we say multi-messenger, and we'll hear more about it this afternoon and tomorrow, it's not only the low latency, but everything around it. So this will be the umbrella, and having Peter now leading the OSG executive team gives us an opportunity to really build on that. I trust that I have to stop, right? Okay, so I will not stop before I say something about trust, because it's in our past executive summary, we said that we are driven by principle, and one of them is mutual trust, which for me personally is a key component of our community. And when you bring in AI to tell you what is trust, it tells you it's a belief, and that may cause some of us to feel uncomfortable. We are scientists, we don't deal with beliefs, we want harsh numbers. Yeah, it's upside down. So that is, and then there is the aspect of trustworthiness. And in our executive summary, we said mutual trust. And actually, it turns out that trust is a mutual relationship by definition. So we could have removed one word from our executive summary and maybe saved. But trust is a key to where we need to be in all the different layers, whether it is bringing in the small institution or whether it's building the multi-messenger. Now, what I forgot to mention in the multi-messenger, in the top, there was a logo of the CI compass. It almost, I don't know whether it's a center of excellence, where after Jason, we have here the director of this center, Eva Dillman, that will demonstrate how groups like the multi-messenger can benefit from this kind of a center activity. So I would just say that there's a lot that we are dealing with on how to deliver trustworthy software. And we even have an eager now that addresses some of that. We have a long history of being concerned about quality of service, quality assurance. We need to put together trustworthy services, and we have to figure out how do we build trustworthy partnership where you can count on us or we can count on each other to be there when we need them. So before Matt starts throwing objects at me, I don't know if we don't have time. So, okay, are there any? I mean, on throughput. So on throughput, we obviously want more throughput, and here are some challenges and opportunities. Memory is a growing challenge on how to allocate memory, and with the dramatic changes in the cost of memory, I just talked to somebody yesterday that wanted to spend $9 million and now is spending $12 million and gets only half the memory. And there is the need to support managing several servers. This is coming from mainly the AI workload, where there is training epochs that needs more than one server. And how do we manage that? And there is also coming from the AI side, there's larger input sandbox, and how do we deal with that? It's the trade-offs are changing, and sharing and multi-access is a challenge. And the last one is the notion of what we call owner capacity units, is to have, think about it as a condo pool where individuals own the capacity. So we are back to where we started, that individuals own the machine on their desk, but now it's not the physical machine, but it's a capacity and how we support it. When we go, and obviously we are happy to talk about any of these. And in terms of opportunities, we need to utilize shared file system in a better way. Rubin is an example where there is quite a bit of activity, and it's all on a shared file system at every site. And we can take advantage of it if we are mindful. And can we make data copies first-class entities in our ecosystem? So all we want to do is we want to copy data. It's not a side effect of running a job, but to copy data. And the last one is going back to where we started, when it is $3 or $5 million a rack of GPUs. We may have to go back on to putting GPU boxes on the desk of everyone. And then we are, what can we do there? How much can we run? We have only a few of them. Okay, throughput.
So let's thank Miron.
Brian allowed me.
So for those of you who are new, or this is your first time, one of our house rules is we never say no quick questions, because then you have to decide whether your question is quick or good or bad or anything. So any questions, quick or not? Comments, jokes, complaints? All right. Miron, they let you off easy.